Alan Carter stood tall in the huge meeting room of the Galactic Council. The room was cold. 7 alien leaders looked down at him from their high seats. Some looked sorry for him. Others looked like they thought humans were not worth their time. Alan was the main human speaker to the council. He had worked hard for 20 years to get Earth accepted as a full member, the leader of the council. Ambassador Zerax spoke first. His voice was loud and clear in the big room. We have looked at Earth's request to become a full member. We find that humans are not ready. Zerax was from a planet called Arcturus. His skin was covered in small scales that shined under the bright lights. Alan had expected this answer. For 20 years, Earth had only been allowed to watch council meetings. They could not vote. They could not get the best alien technology. They could not trade freely with all planets. But what Zerax said next was a surprise. Also, said another council member named Morath, the council has voted to stop Earth from working on some types of technology. Your recent work on quantum engines is worrying to us. Lisa Donovan, who worked with Alan, stepped forward even though it was not allowed. Our scientists made that technology on their own. You have no right to stop us. We have every right, Zerax said quickly. The rules say that young worlds can be stopped from making things that might cause problems for peace in space. Alan put his hand on Lisa's arm to calm her. The council should think again, he said in a calm voice. Earth has followed all your rules. We have let your watchers come to our planet. We have shared our art, music, and science with you freely. We only ask to be treated the same as others. One council member, a jelly-like being named Ulu, seemed unsure. Maybe we could let them be on test membership for a while. The vote is done, Zerax said firmly. Earth will stay as a watcher only. And now there will be new limits on your quantum technology work. This meeting is over. As the room emptied, Alan and Lisa stood alone. They were quiet for a long time. Then Alan spoke. Call the president. Tell her it's time for Plan Omega. Lisa's eyes got big. Are you sure? Once we start that plan, They have left us no choice, Alan said. His voice was calm but strong. If the council won't accept us as equals, maybe they'll notice when we're gone. Back on Earth, President Elaine Brooks called an emergency meeting. Her office in Washington was filled with world leaders on big screens. The room was tense. The council has refused us again, she told them. And now they want to stop our quantum research. The Prime Minister of Japan spoke up. That research is key to our new defense system. Without it, we are at the mercy of any alien race that decides to attack. Exactly, said President Brooks, which is why we need to consider Plan Omega. The room got very quiet. Plan Omega had been created 5 years ago, after the third time the council had denied Earth's request. It was a last resort, something no one wanted to use unless they had to. Are we ready? Asked the president of Nigeria. Dr. Frank Martinez, the lead scientist on the quantum project, stepped forward. The Veil system is ready. We can hide the entire solar system if needed. But once we do this, there's no going back. The council will see it as a major act against them. President Brooks looked at each face on the screens. I need your votes. Do we proceed with Plan Omega? One by one, the world leaders voted. The result was clear. Earth would no longer ask for a seat at the table. Instead, they would leave the table entirely. 3 days later, President Brooks stood before the United Nations. Billions of people watched from their homes. Her face was serious as she spoke. For 20 years, we have tried to be friends with the Galactic Council. We have followed their rules, often hurting ourselves by doing so. We have shared our culture and discoveries freely. In return, they have treated us like children, allowed to watch but not to speak, heard but not listened to. She paused to let her words sink in. Today, by full agreement of all nations, I'm announcing that Earth is leaving all Galactic Council agreements, starting right now. People all over Earth watched with mixed feelings of fear and pride. In space, alien watching stations noticed unusual movement as Earth's small fleet of defense ships began changing positions. Alan was in his office at what used to be Earth's embassy to the Council. He was packing his things. His helper, Ben Wilson, ran in with a computer tablet. "The council is trying to reach you. They've called an emergency meeting," Ben said, out of breath. "I'm sure they have," Alan said without looking up from his packing. "Tell them that since Earth is no longer part of council agreements, I don't have to attend." "Sir, what about their tech rules?" "They could use their military to force us to follow them." Alan smiled for the first time in days. "They could try, but first they'd have to find us." Across the solar system, humans at space bases were following a plan they had practiced many times. On Mars, Governor Rebecca Hill watched as special machines turned on, creating a quantum field that had been built in secret. Breaking council rules, on Earth, Dr. Martinez stood in a massive underground room, surrounded by scientists and engineers from every country. In front of them was the largest machine ever built by human hands. "The veil is ready, Madam President," he reported through a secure line. "When you give the word?" President Brooks looked at her advisors, then at the clock on the wall. Earth had exactly 14 hours before council ships would arrive to enforce their rules. "Turn on the veil, Doctor. Let's see if we can disappear." "Doctor." Martinez pressed his hand against a screen. The massive machine began to hum louder. Around the room, screens showed the energy field spreading from Earth, out past the Moon, then Mars, Jupiter, and beyond. "The field is stable," reported one engineer. "It's working exactly as we planned." In orbit above Earth, Commander Pete Jackson watched from this ship as the stars seemed to shift slightly. "Control, are you seeing this?" "The stars look different." "That's the veil-bending light around us," came the reply. To anyone outside, our entire solar system just vanished. Alan stood at a window in the former embassy, watching as the alien city around him seemed to flicker. Then he heard shouting in the hallway. Alien security forces were running past, their voices high with panic. "Sir," said Ben, who was monitoring alien communications, "they've just noticed." "The council is in complete chaos," Alan nodded slowly. "Good, let them panic. Let them wonder where we went and what we're doing." He turned to look at Ben. "And while they're wondering, we'll be building." The plan had worked perfectly. Earth and its entire solar system had vanished from the galaxy view, hidden behind a quantum field that put them slightly out of step with normal space. They could see out, but no one could see in. They were invisible, untouchable, for the first time. In 20 years, humanity was truly free to chart its own course among the stars. 6 months passed since Earth had vanished behind its quantum veil. Inside the protected solar system, humans worked at an amazing speed. Free from the Council's rules, they could now use all the resources of their planets and moons. The quantum technology that had been limited before was now growing faster than anyone had expected. On Mars, new cities were being built under huge clear domes. Workers moved back and forth in the red dust, setting up homes and labs and farms. Governor Rebecca Hill walked through the newest dome, checking on the progress. The workers nodded to her as she passed. Everyone knew what was at stake. If the veil failed, the council would punish Earth severely for breaking their rules. "Governor, the new quantum lab is ready," said her assistant, a young man named Jack. "Dr. Martinez is waiting for you." Rebecca followed Jack to a large building at the center of the dome. Inside, scientists in white coats moved between strange machines that hummed and glowed. Dr. Frank Martinez stood in the middle, looking at a hologram that showed the entire solar system. "Governor, good timing," Frank said with a smile. "We just confirmed that the veil is stable. We can keep it running for as long as we need." Rebecca looked at the hologram. Around the edge of the solar system, tiny dots showed council ships. They were searching the area where Earth should be, but finding nothing. "Can they detect us at all?" "No," Frank said. "To them, it's just empty space. They can even fly right through where we are, and they'll see nothing. We exist in a slightly different phase of reality now." "And how are the new ships coming along?" Rebecca asked. Frank's smile grew wider. "That's the best part. I think you should see for yourself." They took a transport to the edge of the Mars colony where a massive door opened in the side of a mountain. Inside was a huge cave bigger than 10 football fields. Rebecca gasped at what she saw. Dozens of ships were being built, larger and more advanced than anything Earth had made before. Without the Council's limits, we've been able to combine our quantum technology with their own designs that we've studied over the years, Frank explained. These ships can travel faster than anything the Council has. And they have weapons that can pierce any defense. How many can we build? Rebecca asked. With the automated factories we've set up in the asteroid belt, we can make hundreds in a year, maybe thousands. Back on Earth, President Brooks was meeting with the world leaders again. This time, they were not on screens, but all together in a room under the White House. The mood was different now. Where before there had been fear, now there was hope. Our plan is working better than we expected, President Brooks told them. The Council is in chaos. Their trade routes are disrupted because our colonies were key stopping points. Some alien races that were friendly to us are demanding to know what happened. And what about our people who were off-world when we disappeared? Asked the European. Union President Alan Carter spoke up. He had returned to Earth after the embassy closed. Our agents report that all humans who were on Council worlds have been detained. They're being questioned, but not harmed. The Council thinks they know where Earth went, but of course they don't. We should rescue them, said the Russian president. We will, Alan promised. Once our fleet is ready, that will be one of our first missions. President Brooks stood up. Which brings us to our next decision. We've proven we can hide from the Council, but we can't stay hidden forever. At some point, we need to decide when and how to return. The room was quiet as everyone thought about this. Going back meant facing the Council again, but this time, Earth would be stronger. I have a suggestion, said Alan. We don't just return, we show them what we've become? In the Galactic Council chamber, there was another emergency meeting. This one was not about Earth, but about the problems caused by Earth's disappearance. 17 trade companies have gone out of business, reported a tall, thin alien named Yalari. The routes that went through Earth space were the fastest way between the Orion and Sagittarius arms of the galaxy. Without them, ships must go the long way around. Ambassador Zyrax looked annoyed. Surely the loss of one primitive world cannot. 'Cause such problems, Ambassador Morath glared at Zyrax. It is not just one world, as you know very well. Humans had set up trading posts in 12 different areas. All of them vanished at the same time. Plus, 37 non-human groups had started cultural exchanges with Earth. They are asking questions we cannot answer. The situation was getting worse quickly. Without warning, hundreds of small but important parts of the galactic economy had just disappeared. Supply chains built over centuries were breaking down. Cultural exchanges stopped suddenly. Even the Council's famous science community was feeling the loss. Human researchers had been adding more and more valuable ideas before they vanished. More worrying were the stories. On faraway worlds, there were tales about ships disappearing near where Earth trading posts used to be. Some came back with crews who couldn't remember lost time. Others never came back at all. On the Council mining world called Bellis IV, a whole processing facility had gone silent overnight. When investigation teams arrived, they found the complex completely empty equipment, resources, and 5,000 workers all gone without a trace. Ambassador Ulu had called a private emergency meeting with the Council's inner circle. We can no longer hide the truth, Ulu insisted. The humans aren't just hiding, they're building something. Our deep space probes have detected unusual energy in areas where nothing should exist. What are you suggesting? Asked Zyrax defensively. I am suggesting that in our pride we pushed away a species with far greater potential than we recognized. And now they are advancing without our oversight or limits. Meanwhile, inside the veil, humanity had not been sitting still. Free from Council technology limits, human invention had exploded. The quantum physics breakthrough that enabled the veil had opened doors to other technologies previously thought impossible. In a secret facility on the moon, scientist Olivia Garcia led a team testing a new drive system. The jump drive is stable, she reported to Alan Carter, now serving as the president's special advisor. We can move ships instantly across distances of up to 500 light-years. Alan watched through strong glass as the prototype engine glowed with an impossible light. And the council can't detect the jumps? Not through the veil. Once we're outside, they'll detect energy signatures, but by then we'll be gone again. Alan nodded thoughtfully. How many ships can we equip with the drive by next month? The entire fleet. Production has been made much faster since we gained access to the asteroid belt's rare elements, the ones the council had declared off limits. Perfect, Alan said. It's almost time to remind the galaxy that we exist, and that we've been busy. In her office in the White House, President Brooks looked at the latest reports from the fleet. The ships were ready. The weapons were tested. The jump drives were installed. It was time for the next phase of the plan. Send the message to all commands, she told her staff. Operation Daybreak begins in 48 hours. Across the solar system, humans prepared for their return to the galactic stage. But this time, they would not come as supplicants asking for a seat at the table. This time, they would arrive as equals, or perhaps even more than equals. The council had made a mistake in dismissing humanity. They were about to learn just how big that mistake had been. The day of Operation Daybreak arrived. On every ship in the human fleet, crews made final checks of their systems. The jump drives hummed with energy, ready to take them across vast distances in an instant. In orbit around Earth, the flagship of the fleet, a massive vessel named Freedom, prepared to lead the mission. Admiral Sam Green stood on the bridge, looking at the main screen that showed the hundreds of ships in formation. All ships report ready, Admiral, said his second in. Command, Diane Foster. Sam nodded. Send to all ships. Prepare to lower veil in designated sectors only. The plan was not to reveal the entire solar system at once. Instead, only small sections of the veil would be opened, just enough to allow the fleet to exit. The rest of the solar system would remain hidden and protected on Earth. President Brooks and her advisors watched from the control center under the White House. The council has no idea what's coming, Alan Carter said with a small smile. Our scouts report. Their forces are spread thin, still searching for us. Remember, this is not about starting a war, President Brooks reminded everyone. This is about showing strength so we can negotiate as equals. The countdown reached 0. Across the solar system, small openings appeared in the quantum veil. Through these gaps, the human fleet emerged, jumping immediately to their targets. Across Council space. In the Galactic Council chamber, alarms suddenly blared. Emergency lights flashed as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Ambassador Xerax rushed to the main control room, where screens showed the impossible. Human ships were appearing near every major council world and station. How is this possible? He demanded. Where did they come from? A junior aide approached nervously. Ambassador, the ships just appeared. They didn't use normal space travel. They just jumped in. On the main screen, a transmission began playing. It showed Admiral Green sitting calmly in his command chair. Attention Galactic Council. This is Admiral Sam Green of the Earth Defense Fleet. After careful consideration, Earth has decided to re-establish contact with the galaxy. Our ships are now positioned near your major worlds and stations. We come in peace, but we will defend ourselves if threatened. The transmission switched to President Brooks in her office on Earth. Council members, 1 year ago you denied Earth full membership and attempted to restrict our technological development. Rather than accept these unfair terms, we chose to remove ourselves from galactic affairs. During our absence, we have continued to grow and develop. We now offer the Council a choice. Recognize Earth as a full member with all rights and privileges, or we will form our own alliance with any worlds that wish to join us. The council leaders looked at each other in shock. Ambassador Ulu was the first to speak. We should agree to their terms immediately. Look at their ships. The technology is far beyond what they had a year ago. Ambassador Xerax hissed in anger. We cannot give in to threats. We should call in our battle fleets. And do what? asked Ambassador Morath. Those human ships appeared out of nowhere. They could just as easily disappear again, or worse, they could strike before our ships even arrive. On the Freedom, Admiral Green received reports from across the fleet. All ships in position, no hostile responses yet. Council Defense Forces are on alert but keeping their distance? Good, he replied. Maintain positions and keep weapons powered down. We're here to make a point, not start a fight. Across Council space, the sight of advanced human ships caused a mix of fear and excitement. On many worlds, especially those on the edges of Council territory, people saw the humans as potential allies against the Council's strict rules. Secret messages were sent to the human ships asking about the possibility of alliance. On a small trading world called Vex, the local governor sent a formal request to the nearest human ship. Our world has long suffered under unfair trade rules. We would welcome the chance to form new agreements with Earth. Similar messages came from 20 other worlds in the first day alone. News spread quickly through the galaxy. The humans had returned more powerful than before, and they were offering an alternative to Council rule. Back in the Council chamber, the 7 leaders argued about how to respond. Ambassador Zerax still wanted to fight, but he was now alone in this view. The others had seen the scans of the human ships and knew that a military response would be disastrous. We must negotiate, Ambassador Ulu insisted. The humans have proven they can exist without us. Their technology has advanced beyond what should have been possible in such a short time. We need them as allies, not enemies. Finally, after hours of debate, they reached a decision. Ambassador Morath was chosen to deliver their response. On the main communication channel that reached all human ships, Morath appeared. People of Earth, the Galactic Council acknowledges your return and your impressive advancement. We invite President Brooks and her representatives to meet with us on neutral ground to discuss Earth's full membership in the Council, with all rights and privileges that entails. When this message reached Earth, President Brooks called her advisors together. They're giving in faster than we expected, she said. Alan nodded. They're scared. Our jump drive technology alone has changed the balance of power. Before they could control us because space travel took so long. Now we can appear anywhere, anytime. Should we accept their offer? Asked Defense Secretary William Harris. Yes, but with conditions, President Brooks decided. We'll meet them, but on our terms, not theirs. She recorded a response that was sent back to the Council. We accept your invitation to discuss Earth's membership. However, the meeting will take place on Luna, Earth's moon. We will guarantee your safety, just as you guaranteed ours during our previous visits to Council space. This was a bold move. By insisting the Council come to Earth's territory, President Brooks was making it clear that the old power dynamics had changed. In his private quarters, Ambassador Zerax raged at this response. It's an insult. They expect us to come to them like supplicants. Perhaps, said Ambassador Ulu, who had come to speak with him privately. It is time to accept that. We made a serious mistake with the humans. We treated them as children when they were simply young. We tried to limit their growth out of fear, and in doing so, we pushed them to grow faster and in secret. What are you saying? Zerax demanded. I'm saying that sometimes the wisest path is to admit when we are wrong. The humans have earned their place at the table, and I for one am curious to see what they will bring to it. 2 days later, a Council ship approached the edge of Earth's solar system. The quantum veil parted just enough to allow them through, giving the Council representatives their first glimpse of what Earth had become. The solar system was transformed. Around Earth, massive space stations orbited. The moon was dotted with domes and structures. Mars gleamed with new cities. The asteroid belt buzzed with mining ships and factories. It was clear that in just 1 year, humans had accomplished what might have taken decades under Council oversight. As the Council ship was escorted to Luna, Ambassador Ulu looked out at the activity around them. We truly did not understand what we were dealing with, he said quietly to the others. Ambassador Zerax Seeing the transformation with his own eyes, finally began to understand just how great their mistake had been. The humans had not just survived without the council. They had thrived. The meeting place on Luna was a large dome with clear walls that showed the stars and Earth hanging in the black sky. Inside, a round table had been set up with chairs for both the human representatives and the council members. President Brooks arrived first with her team, including Alan Carter and Admiral Green. They wore simple but elegant uniforms designed to show Earth's unity. When the council members entered, they tried to look calm, but their eyes kept moving around the room, taking in all the advanced technology. Ambassador Zyrax especially seemed uncomfortable. His scales were flat against his body, a sign of stress in his species. "Welcome to Luna," President Brooks said. "Please, be seated." As they sat down, Ambassador Ulu spoke first. "President Brooks, we must admit to being surprised by what we have seen. Your advancement in just 1 year is remarkable. And concerning," added Ambassador Zyrax. "Such rapid development raises questions about stability and safety," Alan Carter smiled slightly. "The same concerns you raised when denying us full membership before. Yet here we are, having developed our technology without incident." President Brooks raised her hand gently to calm the conversation. "We are not here to argue about the past. We are here to discuss Earth's future relationship with the Council. Our terms are simple: full membership with all rights and privileges and no restrictions on our technological development." Ambassador Morath leaned forward. "Such an arrangement would be unprecedented. All new members go through a period of technological oversight." "Earth is an unprecedented case," Admiral Green pointed out. "We've already proven we can advance safely on our own. And we've received requests from 27 worlds asking to form alliances with us outside of Council." "Structure," added Alan. "We would prefer to work within the Council system, but we have alternatives." This news caused a stir among the Council members. They whispered to each other in their own languages before Ambassador Ulu spoke again. "Perhaps we could reach a compromise. Full membership, but with mutual technology sharing and joint oversight of particularly dangerous developments." President Brooks considered this. "Mutual sharing is acceptable, but oversight must be truly mutual. No unilateral restrictions." The negotiations continued for hours. Outside the dome, Earth ships patrolled nearby, a reminder of humanity's new strength. Finally, a framework agreement was reached. Earth would join the Council as a full member. A new technology exchange program would be established where all members shared advances equally. And a joint security committee would be formed to address threats to galactic peace. As the meeting ended, Ambassador Zyrax approached President Brooks privately. "You have achieved an impressive victory, President, but I wonder if you realize what you are joining. The galaxy is more dangerous than you know." "What do you mean?" she asked. "The Council was formed not just for trade and cultural exchange, but for mutual protection. There are threats in the dark spaces between stars that would destroy us all if they could." President Brooks studied his face. "Are you referring to something specific, Ambassador?" "Ask for access to the Omega files once your membership is formalized. Then you will understand why we have been so cautious about certain technologies." After the Council members left, President Brooks met with her team to discuss the agreement. "What do you make of Zyrax's warning?" she asked Alan. "It could be a trick to make us more cautious," he suggested. "Or there could be genuine threats. The Council has kept hidden from non-members." "Either way," said Admiral Green, "we're in a much better position now to face whatever's out there. Our fleet is strong and growing stronger. The jump drive gives us an advantage no one else has." President Brooks looked out at Earth through the dome's clear walls. "Schedule a meeting with all world leaders for tomorrow. They need to vote on this agreement before we finalize anything." Back on the Council ship returning to their headquarters, the ambassadors discussed the meeting. "They drove a hard bargain," said Ambassador Morath. "No new member has ever entered with such favorable terms." "We had no choice," replied Ambassador Ulu. "Their technology is advancing too quickly. Better to have them as allies than potential enemies." Ambassador Zyrax had been quiet since leaving the moon. Finally, he spoke. I told President Brooks about the Omega threats. The others looked at him in shock. You had no authority to do that, Morath said angrily. They will learn about them soon enough as members, Zyrax replied. And their jump drive technology may be our best defense if the Void fleets return. I have been wrong about the humans. Their emotional nature that I saw as a weakness may in fact be a strength. They accomplished in 1 year what took our civilization centuries. The next day, Earth's leaders gathered virtually to vote on the Council agreement. The meeting was tense, with some arguing that Earth should stay independent. Why? Join them now when we've proven we can stand alone, asked the African Union president. Because true strength comes from connection, not isolation, President Brooks answered. And because there may be threats out there that we're still unaware of? Threats that would be better faced with allies? In the end, the vote was 142 to 28 in favor of joining the Council under the new terms. Earth would take its place as a full member of the galactic community. As the news spread across Earth and its colonies, celebrations broke out. After decades of being treated as lesser beings, humans would finally stand as equals among the stars. Ships in orbit fired bright lights into space in beautiful patterns. The quantum veil was partially lifted, allowing for normal travel in and out of the solar system again, though Earth kept the technology ready in case it was ever needed on the Mars colony. Governor Rebecca Hill watched the celebrations from her office window. Do you think we made the right choice? She asked Dr. Martinez, who had come to report on their latest research. I do, he said. We needed to prove ourselves, and we did. Now we can move forward as part of something bigger. On Earth, Alan Carter was reviewing the first batch of data sent by the Council as part of the new technology exchange. Most of it was familiar, but there was one file that caught his attention. It was labeled Void Fleet Incursions, Historical Record. He opened it and began to read. His eyes widened as he realized what he was seeing. The Void fleets that Ambassador Zyrax had mentioned were not just a potential threat. They had attacked before multiple times throughout galactic history. The last attack had been just 50 years ago, and the Council had barely managed to drive them back. The file included images that sent a chill down Alan's spine. Black ships that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Weapons that didn't just destroy but erased matter completely. And star systems left lifeless after the fleets passed through. Alan immediately called President Brooks. Madam President, I think I know why the Council was so afraid of our quantum technology, and why they've changed their minds about wanting U.S. as allies. Explain, she said. There's something out there, something worse than anything we imagined, and our jump drives might be the key to stopping it. As night fell across Earth, most people celebrated their new place in the galaxy, unaware of the darkness that lurked beyond the stars. But in secure rooms and classified meetings, plans were already being made. Earth had walked away to prove its worth. Now it would stand with the Council to face an enemy that threatened all life in the galaxy. 3 months passed since Earth had joined the Galactic Council as a full member. The relationship had started well. Human ships now traveled freely through Council space. Trade had resumed and grown stronger than before. Cultural exchanges flourished, as more alien visitors came to Earth and more humans visited other worlds. But behind this peaceful picture, serious work was happening. In a special facility built in the asteroid belt, representatives from Earth and the Council worked together on a project called SHIELD. The project combined Earth's jump drive technology with the Council's knowledge of the Void fleets. Dr. Olivia Garcia led the human team. She worked closely with Luu, a scientist from Ambassador Ulu's world. The problem, Luu explained as they studied a hologram showing the last Void fleet attack, is that they seem to come from nowhere. Our sensors detect them only minutes before they arrive, giving us almost no time to prepare, Olivia nodded. But with our jump drives, we could position defensive ships throughout the galaxy, ready to respond instantly when an attack begins. Exactly. Luu agreed. And if we can modify the drives to detect the specific energy signature the void ships give off when they enter normal space, we might get even more warning. President Brooks received regular updates on the SHIELD project. She shared this information with other world leaders in secure meetings. The public knew only that Earth and the Council were working together on defense technology. The full truth about the void fleets was kept secret to avoid panic. Alan Carter had been appointed as Earth's official representative to the Council. He spent most of his time at Council headquarters, learning about galactic politics and building relationships with other species. One day, he was surprised to find Ambassador Xerax waiting outside his office. "Ambassador," Alan greeted him. "What can I do for you?" "I wanted to speak with you privately," Xerax said. His voice was quieter than usual. "About the humans who were detained when Earth disappeared." Alan frowned. Most of those humans had returned home after Earth rejoined the Council, but a few were still missing. What about them? Not all were simply detained. Some were questioned extensively, particularly those with knowledge of your quantum research. Alan felt a cold anger rising but kept his voice calm. "Are you saying the Council tortured our people for information?" "Not the Council officially, but certain factions, yes. I have only recently learned of this. I thought you should know." "Why tell me this now?" Xerax's scales shifted in a pattern Alan had learned meant discomfort. "Because I was wrong about humans. I saw your emotional nature as weakness, your quick advancement as dangerous. I now see that I was looking at everything backward. Your emotions drive your creativity. Your rapid development comes from a desire to protect your people. These are strengths, not weaknesses." Before Alan could respond, an alarm blared throughout the building. Red lights flashed in the hallway. Over the speaker system, a voice announced, "All Council members to the emergency chamber immediately. This is not a drill." Alan and Xerax rushed to the large room where the Council met during crises. The other ambassadors were already there, looking at a giant screen that showed a star map of the galaxy. In one section, red dots were appearing. "Void fleet signatures detected in the Cygnus Arm," reported a Council officer. 3 separate groups moving toward populated systems. "How long until they reach inhabited worlds?" asked Ambassador Morath. "At their current speed, less than 2 days." Ambassador Ulu turned to Alan. "Is the SHIELD project ready?" "Can your jump ships respond?" "Not fully," Alan said. "But we do have a squadron equipped with prototype drives." "I need to contact Earth immediately." Alan was given access to a secure communication room. He called President Brooks directly. "Madam President, we have a void fleet incursion. 3 groups in the Cygnus Arm heading toward populated systems." President Brooks didn't waste time with questions. "I'll alert Admiral Green. How many ships do we need?" "Send everything that's ready. And contact Dr. Garcia. We need the detection modifications installed as quickly as possible, even if they're not fully tested." Within hours, Earth ships began jumping to the threatened area. The first to arrive was the Freedom, commanded by Admiral Green. The ship appeared near a small Council monitoring station at the edge of the Cygnus Arm. "This is Admiral Green of Earth Vessel Freedom. We're here in response to the Void Fleet alert." The station commander, a being from a species Green had never seen before, responded with obvious relief. "Earth Vessel, we are grateful for your quick arrival. Our own defense forces are still days away. Send us all the data you have on the Void Fleet movements," Green requested. "We have more ships arriving soon." Over the next 12 hours, 50 Earth ships with jump drives arrived in the area. They positioned themselves in a pattern designed to intercept the void fleets before they reached inhabited worlds. Each ship carried the prototype detection system created by Dr. Garcia and Lu on the Freedom's bridge. Admiral Green studied the tactical display. The void fleets were shown as black areas moving through space, absorbing light and energy as they went. "Still no visual contact?" "No, sir," reported his sensor officer. "But the new detection system is tracking them clearly. They're maintaining course toward the Lavari colony system." "How many people on Lavari?" "Approximately 3 million, sir." Green nodded grimly. All ships, prepare for engagement. Remember, your training. Do not approach within 2,000 kilometers of void vessels. Use long-range weapons only. The Earth fleet spread out in formation. They would intercept the Void fleet in just under an hour. Back on Earth, President Brooks and her advisors watched from the control center. On the Council homeworlds, the various species also watched, many praying to their gods for the safety of the human defenders. The first visual contact came suddenly. On the Freedom's main screen, a group of black ships appeared against the stars. They seemed to bend light around them, making their exact shapes hard to determine. "Target lead vessels and fire," ordered Admiral Green. The Earth ships fired their weapons, a combination of energy beams and quantum missiles. The energy beams seemed to be absorbed by the Void ships with little effect. But the quantum missiles, which briefly shifted their targets into another phase of reality, caused visible damage. "It's working!" exclaimed the weapons officer. The quantum phase shift disrupts whatever field they use to absorb energy, but the Void ships quickly responded. They fired back with weapons that left trails of absolute darkness in space. When these hit an Earth ship, portions of the vessel simply vanished as if they had never existed. "Evasive maneuvers," Green ordered. "All ships, continue firing quantum missiles but maintain safe distance." The battle continued for hours. More Earth ships arrived through jump points, replacing those that were damaged or destroyed. Slowly, the humans began to gain an advantage. The Void fleets, perhaps surprised by the new quantum weapons, began to retreat. "They're pulling back," reported the sensor officer. "All three groups are changing course, moving away from populated systems." A cheer went up on the Freedom's bridge. Similar celebrations erupted in the Earth Control Center and the Council Chamber, but Admiral Green remained focused. "Track them. I want to know where they go." Using the new detection systems, the Earth ships followed the retreating Void fleets. To everyone's surprise, the black ships suddenly accelerated and disappeared from normal space, similar to how Earth ships use their jump drives. "They have similar technology to our jump drives," Green reported to Earth. "But the energy signature is different. Dr. Garcia needs to see this data immediately." In the following days, as damaged ships returned home and the galaxy began to understand what had happened, the Council called a special session. Earth was formally recognized for its role in driving back the Void fleets. Ambassador Zyrax, who had once been Earth's strongest critic, now stood and addressed the chamber. "Let the record show that without Earth and its jump drive technology, the Cygnus armed colonies would have been lost. When we denied Earth full membership and tried to restrict their development, we made a grave mistake. Today, I formally apologize for my role in that decision." On Earth, as citizens learned of their fleet's victory, there was pride but also a new understanding of their place in the galaxy. They had walked away to prove their worth. They had returned to prove their strength. And now they would stand with the other species against a common threat. President Brooks, speaking to the people of Earth, summed it up simply: "We left to find our independence. We return to find our purpose. The stars are no longer just a destination. They are our shared home, and we will defend them together."